Live. All right, everyone. Welcome to the third installment of Sportswomen You Ought to Know. I'm joined by Debbie Hanson of Shefishes2, and today we're going to discuss fishing and women in fishing and how we can empower more women in fishing. So, Debbie, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. My favorite subjects,
Yes.
fishing and how to get more women involved in fishing. Let's do
Absolutely.
it.
Oh, it's such an important topic, and you know very
Absolutely.
firsthand how important it is to increase and retain women in sport fishing. And so we're going to talk a lot about that. But we're going to ask Debbie
Absolutely.
a series of questions, and you guys can filter some questions, and if we don't answer it straight off the bat, we'll get to those later. But I wanted to first start off and preface the conversation with Debbie explaining how she got into fishing. So tell the viewers how you started to fish and what led you to love fishing so much.
For sure. Well, my grandfather had me out fishing on the lakes of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan from the time I was knee-high to a grasshopper. So between the ages of 4 and 5, my grandfather used to take me every summer. Both my parents worked full-time. And so every summer I spent a lot of time with both of my grandparents. And my grandfather was an avid sportsman, hunter, angler. And so it was never a question of, is this something my granddaughter should be doing? He just took me out there and got me involved in it. So like I said, from the time I was 4 to 5, I was digging for worms in the ground and putting them on my hook and casting out my Snoopy Zebco fishing rod and just having a blast. And from the time I caught my first perch and my first bluegill, I was hooked, literally. So that's how I got started.
That's how I think most of us all got started. We catch a fish and we can't let go of the activity whatsoever. We just grow in our skill and we want to get more and more catches and teach people the same thing too. It's a very addictive thing. It's a good
Absolutely
addiction to have.
It is. And, the interesting thing is talking with the team at takemefishing.org, they were stating that, the importance of getting kids involved and mentoring kids and getting kids involved in fishing is really key and paramount, because studies have shown that if they get involved at a young age, they're more likely to stick with it throughout the course of their life. And it's just so beneficial. I mean, there have been so many studies that have been done showing the relaxing benefits that fishing provides. And in addition, of course, you're learning so much about nature and the outdoors and conservation when you're out there on the water fishing. So definitely, it's a great, healthy activity. It helps us balance the screen time that now is becoming so much a part of our life.
Oh, yes.
So, yes, absolutely. Got to get out there.
Yes. And so explain to everyone why you started Shefishes2. And for those of you who don't see, we are at ICAST, which is the preeminent sport fishing show in the country, if not the world. And we're here scouting out the places, and I'm assisting Debbie. But explain to everyone why you started Shefishes2 and why everyone should read it. Like, I read it as best as I can, and I always instruct people to read your blogs and your Take Me Fishing blog. So why should people read it?
Yeah, so Shefishes2 was my personal blog that I started, probably about 6 years ago now. And the reason I started it is because there wasn't any specific place that women could go online to get how-to tips and information on fishing. There's plenty of resources out there that are specific, to the male population, but there was nothing really for women where women could go and connect. And of course, now I have a very active Facebook page, and ladies are always sharing photos of their catches there, which I love. Please go to the Shefishes2 Facebook page and share your catches if you're out there fishing. But it also helps, that interaction helps encourage and inspire other women. And I think women, when they get together in a forum together, they feel much more comfortable asking each other questions and learning. So that's why I started the blog, and I'll obviously continue to do it. And then, of course, my weekly blog that I do at takemefishing.org, I really enjoy doing that, because there, of course, we're also helping to reach the next generation. So.
No, and actually, that's how we first became acquainted. I saw your posts through Take Me Fishing, and I think your social media, and that's how we first became friends and went fishing in your neck of the woods. And that it really is true. It really is true that social media can bring you to other women who also partake in the sport fishing industry or sport fishing in general, freshwater, saltwater. And so beauty of social media, let me say, everyone, works really well. You can make great lifelong friends.
It does have its advantages.
Yes.
Trust me.
Oh, yeah.
I know, it can be used for good, and it can be used for not such good things.
Yes.
But there are many advantages to it, and, connecting with other lady anglers and, really learning more about the sport through them. And I mean, the bottom line is it really is so easy to get out there and get involved. And I think a lot of people, a lot of women may be apprehensive if they don't know anyone else that fishes, but it really is something that you can just go buy an inexpensive spinning combo at Walmart or wherever and get started. Get out there on the water. Chances are there's a freshwater pond or a lake that's within a few miles of your home, and you can get out there and do it, on your own. And we have the resources now. I mean, the great thing about all of the online resources that we have, be it social media, YouTube, is that you can find any information you want. If you want to go on there and look for, how to tie different fishing knots or how to rig your lines or how to rig live bait, you can find all that information online.
Yes.
And of course, as always, Take Me Fishing is a great resource for that too.
It really is. And I'll include all the links so you guys can follow Debbie at the end of the clip. But I cannot stress enough how resourceful her website and also Take Me Fishing's website is. But you'll get all the links at the end. And so we're going to segue into a topic we've been discussing here at ICAST, is the issue of successfully retaining women in sport fishing or any fishing of that sort. And so women are enthusiastic about fishing, but somehow they drop off, and people haven't properly addressed this issue yet. Is it because they're not interested, day-to-day busy? So we're all trying to find solutions to the issue, but what are your thoughts on how to successfully retain more women and not have them taper off so much from the activity?
I'm still, I think we're all still trying, everyone in the industry is still trying to sift through and find a solution for that, and also get accurate answers as to why it may be occurring. Certainly women are pulled in lots of different directions, be it families, work, other responsibilities. So there's always things that are tugging at them from different angles with regards to their time. So certainly that could be a component of it, but we'd love to hear from you. So if anyone out there has gotten involved in fishing and maybe has not stuck with it, what are the reasons why? Have you gone out there and tried it a few times and maybe just decided that, it wasn't, you didn't have the time to assemble all the gear, or like, what was it specifically that, kept you from getting back out there and sticking with it? I would love to know, because I've seen that not just with, my married friends that have families, but even some of my single friends who were very avid anglers at one point in time, who seemed to sort of drift away from the sport for a while. So yeah, it would be great to know and get some feedback from other ladies as far as why they think that may be occurring, because I have my own theories. Everyone can have their theories, but we want to hear from you.
Yeah, if you have questions for Debbie, she can answer them in the question section and all, and she can certainly answer them. You can message her on her Facebook page, and again, you'll get all those links. But she wants to be a resource if you have questions about fishing or certain fears that are preventing you, or any reason she can help you quell your fears about fishing. But I think that's an important discussion to have, especially to know how to rectify the situation in the future and continue to increase, especially not only youth participation, but female participation in the sport as well.
Right, for sure, because really it's a great family activity, and the bottom line is it's something that the entire family can do. And the benefit of that is if mom's fishing, dad's fishing, mom can take the kids out fishing too, and help them as they grow to continue to stay involved with the sport and continue to, learn from the sport. Because let's face it, one of the best things about fishing, at least from my perspective, is that no matter how much you think you know, you can always know more, right? Exactly. There are so many different aspects of fishing. Once you master fishing with a spinning rod, maybe you're ready to take it to the next level and you're ready to start fly fishing, which is something I've been really grateful to get into lately. And it's so relaxing and calming. So there's so much that you can learn. There's so many different techniques, and there's so many different species, which just really lends to all of the excitement and enjoyment, I think, of the sport overall. So.
And Debbie certainly is a force to inspire more women. You've done a lot here in Florida, and I think you can have a ricochet effect elsewhere across the country too, especially with your blog. No, and I think if people read, they'll get inspired to have meetups and similar gatherings and group outings to go fishing, because you can fish, like where I live in Virginia, we have a repository of waterways. And even if you live in South Dakota or New York or Maine or somewhere inland, even in Arizona, you can even go fishing. So you shouldn't be afraid of your surroundings to prevent you from going fishing. But if you ever have any questions, everyone watching, Debbie can help you answer some questions, and she can field any questions related to if you're worried about boundaries or your state being limiting. You'll have a body of water probably somewhere, and she can help guide you and find resources too.
Yeah, definitely. Feel free to ask away. Feel free to go to my Facebook page, Shefishes2, and it's the number 2, and post any questions that you may have there, or message me anytime. And, you know, Gabrielle, you actually brought up a good point yesterday about just your move to DC after living in California, and how you were surprised once you started doing some research at just how many areas there were to fish in the DC, you know, metro area that you weren't aware of. So a lot of times, guys, it's just a matter of getting online, like I said, and doing some research, finding those spots. There are a lot of fantastic tools out there that you can use to find fishing spots near you, local waterways, wildlife management areas. For sure, here in the state of Florida, we're extremely blessed with just an abundance of both freshwater and saltwater fishing opportunities. And it's just really great. We also have something here in Florida. It's a citizen science angler program that I like to tell people about, called the Trophy Catch Program. So it's a freshwater rewards program for for anglers that are interested in getting out there and focusing on our largemouth bass, the Florida strain largemouth bass. So anybody that catches a largemouth bass that's 8 pounds or over just goes through the submission process of taking a photo of the fish on a scale and submitting it. And then they get like a $50 gift card to Bass Pro Shops. They get entered into a drawing for a brand new boat. And it's just a great way to reinforce participation and get anglers excited about the fishing opportunities that we have here in Florida, and the freshwater fishing opportunities. Because a lot of times here in Florida, people tend to focus on saltwater fishing, which is a fantastic. We have so many fantastic fisheries, saltwater fisheries, but don't forget about the freshwater opportunities too.
Yeah,
so,
especially the largemouth bass. And if you start fishing, I had this, and I made the mistake I told you earlier, that I caught a citation white perch that I could have entered had I measured it, taken a picture. It's a good incentive. So like the Maryland Department of Natural Resources wants you to properly note your citation. So I could have entered to win a boat, but it's okay.
Yeah, so I mean, that's one of the reasons why it's just great. The more you learn about it, the more you realize, all right, next time I go on the water, I need to have my, my measuring stick. I need to have my scale, because you never know what you're going to catch. But that's the joy of fishing, is that every time you go out, it's like this feeling of anticipation. Like, what am I going to catch today? What's going to be biting? And even on the days that are really, really difficult, it's an opportunity for you to challenge yourself and really build on your skills. Because when the fishing's good and the fish are, biting nonstop, obviously, that's a really easy day. But the true test of your skills and abilities are those days when it's not so conducive. If you can still catch fish, you're doing good.
Absolutely. And so kind of a final question I have is, what is your most memorable catch to date, and what would be your dream catch?
Wow. Okay. Most memorable catch and dream catch. Well, most memorable catch, that's tough, because I've got so many great memories that are associated with fishing. But
she has a lot of records, by the way, for those of you who don't know. But Debbie holds some pretty cool records, fishing records. So she can share those with you.
I would say my most memorable probably was the over 10-pound bass that I caught, that I submitted for the Florida Trophy Catch Program. And the reason was because it was an ongoing quest. 3 years prior to me going on the fishing trip, when I caught that fish, I started doing the research. I learned about the program. I studied all the different fisheries in the state to really learn about which lakes were producing bass of, 8-pounder plus size. And then I planned that trip, and it was just a beautiful day. The conditions were right, and it was just incredibly memorable. The drive up through, South Florida to Sebring, which is, the area where Lake Ixtapoga is, where the fish was caught. It was just, not just the actual experience of being on the water, but the anticipation of the drive up there, and then the feeling afterward and driving home was just, and because catching a freshwater fish like that made me think of my grandfather, who is the person that got me involved with fishing. And now he's 96 years old, and he's still alive. Hi, Grandpa. And he truly was my mentor. So that experience really, I felt like I was paying homage to him, being the one that got me involved in fishing. So
Yeah, that's a good catch to have. And then your dream catch.
My dream catch. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is going to be a tough one because I have a list of quite a few species that I really would like to catch. But my dream catch, oh geez. Yeah, I have to narrow this down from about 5. So I'm trying to think. I'm going to keep everybody in suspense here.
Yes.
Because I have to figure it out myself. I would say I had the experience of going to New Zealand and catching brown trout last fall. And the brown trout that I caught were mainly a few pounds, but I know that they can get very large, particularly in New Zealand. It's just an outstanding fishery. So I would have to say catching either a large brown trout, maybe 7 pounds on fly. That would be one of them. Or catching a tarpon on fly certainly would be the ultimate challenge and the ultimate accomplishment, I think, because they are the premier sport fish, particularly here in Florida. So I would say from a freshwater standpoint, going back to the brown trout, and from a saltwater standpoint, the tarpon.
Elusive tarpon. That's on my list too.
Yes.
A fish to catch. And that's an elusive, wonderful species.
And I've caught tarpon, but not on fly.
Yeah. So you want to up the challenge.
Catch it on fly.
Yeah.
Yes. There we go.
Those are
that would be it.
Those are 2 very good goals to have. And if you have a fishing goal, you can chime in below. But that was really wonderful for you to dispense all this wonderful, insightful information for everyone to get excited about fishing. I hope they're as passionate or learn to be as passionate about fishing as you are, as I am, and everyone else here at ICAST is. So if you ever have any questions, everyone, Debbie is the go-to person for fishing, especially in Florida, or if you're just emerging and just starting out. She's a wonderful person and will be a great resource if you start reading her blog. So thank you.
Stop by the blog. No, thank you so much for having me, and it's awesome being here at ICAST, and we're networking and meeting so many other Great Lady anglers, so it's a wonderful opportunity.
Yep.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course.